This is a variant on the hare's ear pattern that I've been working on. Just call it the hare's ear 2.0. Although there's enough variants on the hare's ear that it's probably not 2.0. Anyway, I've got a size 16 hook in my vise. We've got a kind of a copper Killer Caddis bead on the front. I'm just adding a little bit of lead right behind the bead just so that we can get this down in the water a little quicker. So once I've got the lead in place, hook in the vise, we'll go ahead and start with our thread. Get that secured down on our hook shank here. Go ahead and cut off the excess. And then I'm just going to take some wraps up through the lead here to secure it in place. Not worried about covering it up. We'll have a nice dubbed thorax on this, so we'll cover that lead up. So then now we're just going to travel back down to the end of the hook shank here at the bend. That's about where we want it. So from here we're just going to use a really light colored hair dubbing. And we're just going to create a nice little dubbing ball. And that's just going to help our tails splay out a little bit. So I don't want too much dubbing here. For the tails, we're just going to use 2 goose biots. I'm going to tie one in on either side. So on my side, I'm going to go ahead and get this first one started. Check that for length. We'll go ahead and add our second one in. On the lens side, we want that to be the same length as the first one. Let's go ahead and push that and hold it up against that side of the hook. Kind of position it a little bit if it's moved on you at all. Once I've got that position down, I'm just going to go ahead and take my thread forward. We'll go ahead and use some of the mass of those biots to get a more even abdomen here. I'm going to bring that thread right up to just about behind the lead, securing those 2 biots in place. We'll just grab our scissors. Cut those 2 off. Now from there I'm just going to go ahead and take a few wraps and clean those butt ends up just a little bit. And I'm going to work my way back down. And that little ball of dubbing is going to just help us get those 2 tails not only split but kind of splayed out. So we should be looking something like that. For ribbing, we're just going to use a piece of gold wire. This is a small size. I'm going to go ahead and just take a few wraps. And I'll go ahead and pull that back so I don't have to cut it off. And I want this to lay on the lens side of the hook, and I want to get it around those biot tails. So I'll secure that back to where we're going to have the next batch of dubbing put in place. So we'll turn back to that same color of dubbing we used for the dubbing ball on the back. Get that dubbed nice and tightly here on our thread. Take it back to where our last dubbing ball left off, right at the base of those tails. Then I'll just tighten it up as I move forward, creating a little bit of a taper. Not an exaggerated taper, but a little bit of a taper. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab that gold wire, and we'll just take a few open spiral wraps of our gold wire. And take our thread and take a couple of wraps over the top of that wire. A couple of wraps on the other side. And then we can just rotate that, break it off. So our abdomen's done with our tails. For my wing case, I'm just going to use a piece of brown scud back. Get that secured on our top of our hook here. Go ahead and secure that down. Work to make sure you've got that on top of the hook shank here. Next we'll transition to some more hair dubbing. This is going to be a little bit darker for our thorax. And go back for just a tiny little bit more. I do want to leave a little bit of space, about an eye length or so behind the bead, so we can tie in our legs. Our legs are going to be just a Hungarian partridge. We've gone ahead and cut the center out to create that little V. We'll go ahead and straddle that. Pinch it on either side. I'm going to take a first kind of loose wrap around. Take a look. I want those to be about as long as the thorax. And I'll go ahead and come in and clip out the balance. So I'll take our scud back for our wing case. That's going to help us separate those wings, those legs. Go ahead and stretch that kind of tight as we're securing it down. A couple of wraps over the top. We'll take a wrap or two just behind the bead while we pull it back. And give myself just a little bit of extra thread here, and we'll grab our whip finisher. Secure our thread nice and tight, and we'll just come on in with our thread cutter. And all we've got left to do is kind of clean up that scud back. We'll go ahead and stretch that. That'll help it suck down into those thread wraps a little bit. And with that, there you go. New variant on the Hare here. Really good pattern, fishes really well. Grab yourself a hook, throw it in your vise, and give this one a shot.